What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Love in Paradise, a wake-up call. So I don't want to do the most with the least because not much happened in this week's episode, so I don't want to spend too much time on this show. So let's just hurry up and get to it. Let's start off with Luke and Madeline. So Luke meets up with a friend of his who has a wife who's really good friends with Madeline. So on occasion, whenever Luke is in Colombia, the two couples will hang out. So Luke and this friend, they meet up, they talk about business first because I guess this friend gives him really good advice on business. I don't know. Luke shows him his very ordinary looking sunglasses that he's planning on selling. So they talk about that for a little bit. Luke tells his friend that he had to invest like $10,000 out of his 401k for this sunglass business. So the friend was, that conversation led to them talking about Luke and Madeline's relationship and them getting married. And the friend tells him, look, if I were you, I would definitely have her sign a prenup. So don't go into this marriage without signing a prenup. You need to do that. The friend was not beating around the bush. The friend was not making like suggestions or implying or alluding to. The friend was like, you need to do a prenup. If you're going to marry this girl, you need to do a prenup, which made me think that maybe because his wife is also friends with Madeline, it makes me think that maybe the friend knew something about Madeline that Luke is not privy to, and that's why he was so like very clear and concise about telling Luke, have her sign a damn prenup. So Luke is really nervous about talking about money with Madeline ever since, he told her that he was broke. Anytime the conversation goes towards money and finances, it doesn't go very well. So he's really like scared to bring up a prenup to her. So Luke says that he doesn't have a lot of cash, but he does have assets. And one of his assets is a $300,000 property that he owns in Colombia that he rents out to tourists. So in order to protect his assets and whatever little cash flow he has, he definitely wants to do a prenup. The issue is, how is he going to bring it up to Madeline? So they're getting the rental together, him and Madeline. They're getting it all cleaned up, making it look really nice because there's going to be some guests coming in to rent it out. And he tells us that he knows that he needs to have a conversation with her about this prenup. But she's been in such a funky mood about him not staying in Colombia, like, making this his final move to Colombia. So she's been in a really funky mood and he's been like walking on eggshells around her. So later on, they go visit her mother and her aunt. Now, her grandmother raised her. She's very close to her grandmother. They go visit her grandmother. And while they're making tamales, the grandmother and the aunt Madeline brings up her wedding. So she starts talking about her wedding and all the things that she wants. She wants like a really big, grand wedding of the year type of wedding, like on the scale of, like a royal type wedding. She wants the whole shebang. She wants the work. She wants a DJ. She wants a violin player. She wants a piano player. She wants to change into 3 different gowns. So she wants like the whole shebang. And this is going to be extremely expensive. And so Luke is just, they're making his little tamales, just listening, not really contributing much to the conversation. So the aunt and the grandmother ask Luke, okay, so when's the big day? Have you set a date? Obviously he hasn't because he's broke. He's not going to set a date for something that he cannot afford. The grandmother and the aunt tell us every time we bring up, the wedding and when is it going to happen and have they set a date, Luke always, dodges the question. So Luke tells us that he can't even think about the wedding because he has no money to pay for it. And so I don't know what the hell they're going to do because I don't see him. She's either going to have to accept a very low budget type of wedding, like, getting married in a high school gymnasium type of wedding, or he's just going to have to find a whole bunch of money in a short amount of time. I don't know what he's going to do. So unbeknownst to Luke, Madeline has already booked an appointment with a wedding coordinator. So she drags him to this wedding coordinator. And they look at the venue and she falls in love with the venue. It's a really beautiful venue. She wants an outdoor type of wedding. So it's got an outdoor, it's an outdoor wedding or outdoor venue. And, it's just a really nice venue. That's all I can say. So it's a really nice venue, and Madeline falls in love with it, and so she's really excited about having her wedding there. And Luke is just like looking around, like, I don't know how I'm gonna pull this off. So he asks the coordinator, like, how much will a place like this cost? And the coordinator tells him, well, just for the venue alone, without food, without decorations, without a damn thing, if you're just gonna get married in this spot, just like this, with nothing, it's going to be $5,000. Now, when you add the flowers and the decorations and the music and the food and everything else, it's going to be somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000. So he decides this is the time that I need to have a conversation with Madeline about this damn prenup. So they sit down and they start off the conversation talking about the wedding. And he tells her, Madeline, I don't know, I just can't afford this. And she's like, I know. All you talk about is money, 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 money. I'm sick and tired of talking about money. And so then he tells her, okay, well, there's something else that we have to discuss. If we're planning on getting married, we're going to have a prenup. And I guess he's using the whole prenup because he knows how badly she wants to get married. And so he's thinking to himself, she's already seen the venue. She's fallen in love with the venue. She's already having all of these ideas about the wedding and her dresses and all this and that. So she's already getting excited about that. So if she wants that, she's going to have to do this for me. And so he tells her, you're going to have to sign a prenup. He says, I know I want to be with you. I just don't know if you really want to be with me. So you're going to have to sign a prenup. And she got really upset, as they all do, on these shows. So she gets really upset and she's like, you don't trust me? And he was like, well, everybody does it. Everybody does prenups. It's no big deal. Even my friend, and he names the guy that lives in Colombia. Even my friend, he's the one that told me to do this. So he's trying to throw his own friend under the bus. So she walks away. Of course, she's upset. And she tells us in her confessional, she tells us that if anyone is untrustworthy, it's Luke, because he's constantly lying to me. He's the one that's not trustworthy, not me, because he's always lying. So I don't know what's going to happen with Luke and Madeline, if this wedding is even going to go. I don't know. I really don't know. I think that they're going to pull together something. Something's going to happen and they're going to be able to get married. It might not be the wedding of her dreams, but he's going to pull together something. He's probably going to go ahead and drain the rest of his retirement in order to make this 19-year-old girl happy, who may not even stay with him a year after they exchange their vows. Moving on to Sean and Aaliyah. So Aaliyah is hanging out with her friend. Her name is Jackie. And this is the first time that her friend Jackie has seen her as Aaliyah in person. Now, they FaceTimed each other, so Jackie has seen Aaliyah on the phone. But this is the first time that Jackie has seen Aaliyah in person, live and in living color. So Jackie is really happy for Aaliyah. She thinks this is a wonderful thing that Aaliyah can finally be herself, live her truth, etc., etc. So Aaliyah talks about how Sean really misses the shy, timid, very reserved, scared Douglas. Now, I kind of thought that Aaliyah was kind of twisting that narrative just a little bit. Sean does miss Douglas because that's who he fell in love with, for sure. And Aaliyah is very outgoing, very extroverted. And Sean's not used to that. He's used to the very quiet, reserved Douglas. And the way that Aaliyah presented this to Jackie, when she said, oh, he likes the more scared, shy, timid Douglas, I felt like that wasn't quite the truth. Aaliyah saw herself as shy and scared and timid as Douglas. Sean saw Douglas as quiet, reserved, definitely shy. He didn't fall in love with Douglas because Douglas was so scared, So I think that she just kind of twisted just a little bit to make it seem as if he fell in love with a part of me that was not very desirable, that I really wasn't comfortable with. Girl, just say, he fell in love with me when I was a boy. I don't want to be a boy. I want to be a girl now because that's what I really am. That's how I really feel. That's my true identity. Just go ahead and say that. Don't say, oh, he fell in love with the shy and scared Douglas, because you're making it seem like, he liked you when you had no power, when you had no voice, when you were because of that, that's why he liked you. He didn't know what you were going through, what you were struggling with. Yes, you were more quiet. Yes, you were more reserved. And that was attractive to him. But it wasn't because he saw you as like some type of a victim, like, oh, this person doesn't speak for themselves, and this person doesn't know how to live in their truth, and this person is so scared. That's why I want to be with them. So I just noticed that. And so Jackie says, well, it seems like, he was really attracted to the parts of you or to your personality that was easy for him to manipulate. And I was like, what? Where is this coming from? Like, why are y'all talking about Sean like this? Like, I didn't get it. I was like, okay, that's a really strange way of looking at it, Jackie. That those qualities that were identified with Douglas, Jackie was like, yeah, he liked that about you because those type of qualities were easy for him to manipulate. Maybe I don't know Sean. I mean, I don't know Sean. We've only seen him for a couple of weeks. Maybe I don't know Sean the way they know Sean. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole different side to Sean that's like kind of predatory. I don't know. But that's for sure how they're making it seem like. So Aaliyah talks about how she wants to have surgery so she can have more of a feminine figure. And she talks about how Sean is not happy about the transition from Douglas to Aaliyah. And he's really not happy about the surgery at all. And Aaliyah says that, whatever, it doesn't really matter what Sean likes or doesn't like, what Sean wants or doesn't want. What's really important is what Aaliyah wants to do. And Aaliyah loving herself and not really giving a damn if Sean is in love with Aaliyah or Douglas or whatever. Aaliyah has to be in a situation in her life or in a position in her life where she can just really love herself. Okay, girl, we get it. So later on, or on another day, Sean is hanging out with Aaliyah and a few of her friends on the beach. And after they play games and do all this other stuff, they all sit down around the fire. And Aaliyah decides to read a speech that is basically saying farewell to Douglas. So she reads the speech and then she takes a picture of herself as Douglas and she burns the picture in the fire pit. And it's a very emotional moment for Aaliyah and her friends. Aaliyah starts crying because, she's permanently saying goodbye to Douglas. And Sean understands that this has to happen. This was bound to happen. There was no way that this could be avoided. This is going to happen. This transition was going to happen at some point. So Sean tells us he either needs to get on board with Aaliyah or he needs to leave both Aaliyah and Douglas behind. So I don't know. I see both points. I see how Aaliyah needs to be more comfortable with who she is and live her life the way she wants to. And I can understand Sean's struggle because he fell in love with, Douglas the man, and Douglas the man is not Aaliyah the girl, and that is not what she signed up for. You want to be with a masculine man, not a feminine woman. And that is also totally understandable. And Aaliyah, I guess in her eyes, the way that they can compromise is Sean needs to remember the person, the soul, the personality that he fell in love with, which is different because Aaliyah is a lot more outgoing than Douglas was. But, Leah says, I'm still the same person inside. I'm still the same person she fell in love with. That's like, if we just concentrate on who I really am as a person, who I am on the inside, then we can all be happy. Let's see if that's going to work for Sean. If he can just concentrate on the soul and not so much the exterior. Moving on, we have Alex and Adriano. So Alex meets up with her cousin, and Alex tells her cousin about the issues that she's been having with Adriano. Primarily, amongst other things, is the race and the religion. She says to her cousin, after we had dinner with Adriano and you were talking about religion and, he said that he really wasn't spiritual or he really wasn't religious, it made me kind of think about it. And it is important for me to be with someone who is religious and who believes in God and who takes that seriously. And also the whole race situation bothers me. She tells her cousin that whenever she talks to Adriano about things that she's experienced as a Black woman in America or anywhere, I guess, he basically tells her just to, suck it up, buttercup, and move on. And he's not very sympathetic with what she goes through. And so her cousin was like, damn, girl, that's horrible. That's awful. What are you going to do about that? And so she's like, I don't know. And so then the cousin asks her, are you really in love with this guy or are you just in lust? And she actually takes time to think about it. And she's like, I think I'm in love. And I'm like, wrong answer. You are not in love. You are not in love, girl. I think you are in lust. I think you are in serious lust. And, some people, they just get really overtaken when someone can tap into that part of them and, just send them to the moon every single time. For a lot of people, that type of experience is overpowering, and it will make you think you're in love when you're really not. I don't think Alex is in love with Adriana, and I don't think Adriana's in love with Alex. I think these people are together. They're just very intoxicating with one another. They're very, very attracted to each other. There's some major chemistry and attraction going on between the two of them. And I think that they're letting that justify why they're together. But I really don't think they should be together. Because, I mean, if you're not compatible religious wise, especially if one person is really religious, it ain't gonna work. And when it comes to race relations, if the other person just doesn't see or just doesn't get what you're talking about, when you come to them as their, this is your partner who might be your husband one day, and you're like, hey, this is what I've experienced, this is what happened to me, because of racism and prejudices out there. And he's just like, okay, get over it. No, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. So those are some major issues that she needs to talk about with Adriano. And if he's still giving her the same type of answers that he's been giving her, then she needs to let that go. And then finally, we are on Kyle and Annie. Now, not much happened. They're still at the damn mall where Annie had asked him to please stop your natural insemination. And he's looking at her like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what you want me to say. He's not trying to give that up at all. So in my last video that I did on Kyle and Annie, someone in my comments turned me on to a YouTube channel called Your Wet Sock. And that content creator, I don't know his name, he did a really good detailed video on Kyle and what a creep Kyle is. I mean, after you're done watching that video and you hear all the things that he said about Kyle, you're going to seriously be disgusted just by the sight of him, which I was when I watched this week's episode. After watching that video and looking at Kyle today, I was like, oh, he's making my stomach turn. Kyle is a horrible person. I'm not going to give too much detail because if you want to know, go check out the Your Wet Socks channel. He's a horrible person. He's a disgusting person. Him and his friend, they do this, insemination thing, natural insemination or whatever the hell. They go around the world impregnating women. They get some type of a high off of it, some type of a kick off of it. I don't know. It's absolutely disgusting. And what motivates them to do it. Kyle supposedly, allegedly has some type of a genetic disorder that he may be passing along to the children that he's creating. Of course, nobody's checking for that. Nobody's screening for that. He is misogynistic. His views on women and how he treats women is extremely misogynistic. He is racist. The things that he says about black women after he's been with them, after he's naturally inseminated them, and what he says afterwards about them, it's absolutely disgusting. He's a horrible person. And I don't know, I mean, I didn't know anything about, but I'm not dating Kyle. And I'm not dating Kyle. Annie, I feel like she should do some research on this guy. That's number one. Number two, I'm not employing Kyle. So I don't have a responsibility or a duty to do any kind of research or background checks on Kyle, but TLC should have. They really should have before they put this person on television. He's a horrible person. He's an absolutely horrible. If these things are true, allegedly, if these things are true, they're disgusting. Your Wet Sock, he actually posts like messages between Kyle and his homeboy where they're talking about the women that they've been with and the horrible things that they're saying about these women after they've been with them. And it's just nasty. It's nasty. So y'all go check out Your Wet Sock because he's got the true tea on Kyle. And you will never look at Kyle the same again. Never, ever, ever. And I'm looking at Annie and I'm like, girl, just do a quick Google search, child. Just do a quick Google search, do a Reddit search. Girl, you're going to find out everything that you need to know about this man. And you will run for the hills, okay? You will run for the hills. Anyway, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it on your way out. Please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Please subscribe to my channel. And I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.